Welcome to the showcase of my latest project, which is a finance tracker built with Spring Boot, which is a framework for Java to build backend applications, and TypeScript and React for the front end. So I will not go much into detail with the code base because there's a lot of code, but basically I just want to point a few things I liked about Spring Boot because this is my first big project using it. And the first thing is the controllers. I really like how you can define controllers. It's very easy to maintain because you can see all of them mapped in your file, and it's very easy, as this is object-oriented programming, it's very easy to separate all different functionalities and different functions and objects, and I think it's very readable and maintainable in the long term. I also liked how, for example, you can mark certain fields of your request with the valid annotation, and then when you define the entity, you can define the rules to validate that parameter. I think it's really useful and it's super neat and reduces a lot the churn and the work you have to do in order to validate stuff on the server side. Also, I think it's very neat that you can overload the request in your backend. So it's very nice. You can have different methods that in the end just call a single method and perform all the operations. So it's very convenient. Then I also really like the global exception handler, which is an annotation that you can use, and every time an exception is thrown, so in this case it's the expense not found exception, it will call this method, and this is very useful because this way we can have in a single file all the exceptions, and we can manage all in a single file. And it's very easy to tell the front end what's going on, what failed in the backend, and it's very neat because this way we can build like a really responsive front end, thanks to being able to maintain all the error handling in the backend at the same position. Finally, for repositories, I used Spring JPA, which is an ORM. I don't really like ORMs, to be honest, but this one I think it's quite neat because instead of writing the functions or calling different methods to emulate SQL, what you do is define the method's name following a certain pattern that it's written in their docs, and it will try to convert that into SQL. So in this case, for example, all these simple queries, which are just select by ID or select by ID and something else, you can skip the part of writing SQL and managing the connection and just define this method, and it's super useful. Whereas if you have a complex query like this one, which I'm working with dates and stuff like that and grouping by, you can just use the add query annotation and provide a constructor for your entity, and it will do that for you. So you don't have to, again, create a query and then map the results of the query into an object. It will just do it for you. So I think it's very nice. And finally, for the authentication, I used Spring Security, and it's a very simple authentication. I'm not using Auth or any service like that, so there's no Google login or GitHub login, and I just use JWT tokens. So yeah, let's get down to the code. So I'll start, down to the front end. So I'll start the project. So you can see this is a sign in, sign up page. So I'll create a user, doesn't matter for this showcase, random password. And now that I successfully sign up, I logged in. Let me make this big. And yeah, so the app is not meant to be logged out or logged in. Just you log once and you have that, and that's it. I didn't plan this to be like something that people would use. I only use it, so that's why there's no logout button. But yeah, this is the main dashboard. At the moment, there's nothing. So if we press here, we can add expenses, an income, an investment, or a transfer. So I'll go ahead and add a salary for January 2025, which I made, let's say, 2,000 euros, and I just received the money today. So the income category is work. I'll add it a nice color, and I'll add this category. And finally, I'll create a bank account. Let's say Revolut, where I received the money. So there we go. And now we have this graph showing that I made 2,000 euros, and this is a top income source at the moment. But now let's say I make a expense called rent, which is 400 euros. And again, I paid today, let's say, and the category was rent. I'll add a little house here. This is just to make it fancier so that it looks better. And yeah, that's it. Then Revolut. And now you can see that the expense shows here. Now let's say my grandma gave me some money for Christmas, and she gave me 50 euros on the Christmas Eve. So here we have, and then obviously this is not the fruit of my labor, so I'll just say it's a gift, not a gift. And yeah, and I received it in cash, just in case. So I'll just create this new account, although it's not account, not an account. It's the way to account for that. And now you can see that the money my grandma gave me is the second biggest income source I have. Now you can see that in this month I only did 50, but my net worth actually shows that I have these 50 euros that my grandma gave me, and my monthly average income is 1,025 euros. And rent is my biggest expense category. So let's say I went to the hairdresser, haircut, and it cost me 15 euros, and I went yesterday. So this is gonna be, let's call it Aegean, why not? And I'll find scissors, perfect. So this is Aegean, and I paid in cash. So now you can see that it's the second most expensive thing I've purchased. If we go to the different tabs, you can see the summary of my bank accounts. You can see also transfers. At the moment I didn't do anything, but basically a transfer, what it allows us to do is to switch from one account to the other, and we can, on any given date, we can say I put those something, it doesn't matter, I put those 25 euros from my Revolut, from my cash to my Revolut, and I will see that I don't have money in my cash because it went all to Revolut. Finally, we also have investments, which is again, it's literally the same. I will not showcase that. And finally, we have the incomes and then the expenses. It's very neat because I created this in such a way that you can edit them. So in this case, it cost me 25, but I can also delete it. So if we delete it and then we go back to accounts, you will see that now I have money back again. So it's nice. It all gets updated. One thing that is very useful or interesting about the front end is that I built the components. So you can see here these buttons and the ones that you were seeing here. So here on the edit bank account and also in the add bank account, they're all the same component. So they just share the same context, and this way it's very easy to maintain. You can edit from different places all the same information. It's really useful. And also at the same time, to avoid having to fetch all the time with the backend, I try to store as much information as possible in the client using context. So every time you update a expense, it gets sent to the server verifies what's going on, and then the response that it's returned gets updated in the client. And this way, for example, I'm just storing for the bank accounts and the amount they have, and then this way I calculate all the information you're seeing here in the screen with an array, and this way I just minimize the number of fetches I have in my front end. So I hope you like it, guys. Thanks for watching.